Hey there, everybody. Welcome to our Monday webinar. So glad you could all join us here today. Pardon me as I play with my new headset as I'm getting it all figured out. So for those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Maria Marquis, and here at Coda, I consider myself the Chief Cheerleading Officer. So good to see you, Neil. Welcome. This time is particularly for you. So again, my name is Maria Marquis. I'm the Chief Cheerleading Officer here at Coda. What does that mean for you? It means I'm a complete Coda nerd and I love celebrating learning, making, exploring, and making mistakes so that we can learn a little bit more. So in our Monday webinars, in general, we're focusing on use cases. So how can we make a problem be solved using Coda? And today's topic is effective project management. So the way that we do these webinars is it's really about you and your questions. Yes, I have some things I want to share with all of you, but ultimately it's about what's on your mind. So at least you have a better idea of where to go next and hopefully an answer to your question. So how we do that, over there on the right side of your screen, many of you have already found that. We've got our little chat field. Post whatever's on your mind there. It's a public chat, always available for everybody. But if you have a question here today, I'm going to ask that you use the Ask a Question area along the bottom of the screen. So right below my face. That way I don't lose it. It also means that when you come back and listen to the recording of the session, you can actually jump right to your question. So either one of those work. You don't need to wait for me to stop talking at any time. If you've got something on your mind, you just let me know and I'll be happy to answer it for you. So to get us started, post to the chat field on the right side of the screen. What kind of project management do you do most often? So what kind of projects are you doing? Go ahead, post a chat. That way I can make sure that I customize all of my examples to what you all are actually working on. So go ahead and post a chat for me. What are you working on? Got it. Operations. Totally. All of our internal stuff. Yeah. Nice. Karina. Beautiful. What else, everybody? What kind of projects are you working on? Go ahead, post to that chat over there on the right side of the screen. What projects? Events. Cool, Rich. I love that. Sweet. School strategic decisions. We got to break it down into initiatives and activities. So maybe there's some hierarchy there. Love it, Neil. Great. And what are you currently using to manage your projects? If you're not using Coda already, what are you currently using? Just so I can understand kind of the tools that are part of your day. Hey, I love that. Network infrastructure for construction. Dope. Nice. Currently no projects, but mostly festival and event. Yeah, I bet things have changed on the event landscape in the last couple of years, right? So any tools that you're currently using, just so I can understand a little bit about maybe what tabs you have open or what other software might be installed on your computer. Just so again, so I can really help customize to what we're going to talk about. Cool. Yeah. Proprietary systems. Sure. Great. Anything else that folks want to share? Let me know. Google Sheets. We got some Jira here. Okay, great. I'm going to make a note. We got some Jira folks in the house. So I can go ahead and show you an example of that. Got it. Great. Been using Airtable up to date. Cool. All right. Excellent. Trello, ClickUp, Coda, whoop, whoop. Perfect. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. When you see my screen, please do post a yes, I can see it, some kind of signal in chat so I know that we've all made it here through time and space into our wonderful Stargate. Nice. Perfect. Also, if you are looking for a template version of this, our class is actually inspired by this document that was built by one of my colleagues over on the design side of the house about managing a project. So when we think about Coda, I find that project management is really kind of that Coda sweet spot. This is where I really see Coda shining. Yes, Coda can do all number of things, but I really think that project management is where we can make some huge advances in our approach. So this document is relatively simple. And let's just get oriented here. Over on the left side of the page, you're going to see that we've got a bunch of different pages here. We've got our summary, stand-up, meeting notes, tasks, and then this nice little page with a bunch of subpages called task views. That's because this document is really powered by just one giant table. So when we think about Coda, the first thing that we want to do is we really want to think about, for our tasks, what do we need to know about them? Because the tasks are going to be here right in our table, right? We see we've got code, plan, fake plan, all that kind of thing. And then we see we have a bunch of different columns. So columns describe our tasks. It lets us know all the things about it, which is why if I were to go ahead and click on this little expand option and see plan, I see all the information about it, and I can even change how I want this to look. So let's jump over into my one over here. We're going to head over to our tasks. Because again, this is our core area. So we've got our task table, and I want to highlight the different types of columns that we have here. We got a basic text column. We have here the category column, which it's what we call a lookup. This lets us know that there's more underneath the hood, and we can do some formatting. We've got some dates. We've got a people column, which just shows me all the folks who are in this doc with me. We see the status, which is a nice little drop-down menu. We have an image column where I can go ahead and upload any images or click on any of these images to see a better look. And then we can also see we've got some dependencies. So what we can do here is we can add as many columns as we like here to our tasks. So I'm just going to click on this little plus right over here. And maybe I want to make a checkbox, right? Maybe this is urgent or not. I can then say, cool, these are all urgent, of course. We can then resize. And maybe I realize, you know what? I don't like having this column all the way over here. I made a mistake. Oh no, not a problem. You can always just drag and drop things around. So I could drag this over here. We can resize anything that we've got. Another one of my favorite types of columns is if we click right on over here and I decide maybe I want to do a reaction. This essentially creates a little button. So I can say, great, maybe I love this task, or maybe I want to say I'm concerned about it. So we've got a nice little bit here. We can go ahead and flag some potential issues by saying, oh, I'm scared. And you can do all manner of things by really just customizing these tasks to be whatever you like. So if you think about your tasks, what are some of the things that you always know that you need to track for them? Go ahead, post a chat for me. What do you need to track when it comes to your tasks? Information, data, due date, and assignee. Totally classic, right? So for you in this case, Karina, what you could do is say, great, instead of my start date, maybe I want to go ahead, right click. I want to insert. We're going to insert a column before. I'm going to make this be my due date. Not due date. A little too California here. Due date. And then we just go ahead and change this column type to be a date column. We can make it a regular date and time, whatever we like. So that would be what you would do for there, Karina. And assignee, we've already got that here with that handy little people column. Nice. Resources, the completion data. Got it. Yeah, so maybe for you, Neil, maybe you have some more long form information that you want to have. What you could do is just click right over here. Maybe we just call this a notes column. We can just keep it as text. And then what you could do is you could always double click on any of these cells, be able to see this little handy expand cell option. You can open that up, and this can be all the data that you would ever want. And maybe we want to include some checkboxes here. So we could do a slash and choose a checklist. This could be data 1, data 2, data 3. Yeah. And then when we're done, go ahead and say, perfect, I am done with it. So that's another way we can think about kind of the longer form. And if you ever have a lot of longer form information, what I recommend is you pop on open this particular row, click the little shish kebab right up here in the upper right, and you can choose to edit this layout. So instead of this kind of boring list, you could say, you know what, I actually want this to look a little bit different. Maybe I want to have it be a little bit more like this, right? We see it kind of as a side by side. We could then decide exactly what we want to have here. Maybe we don't want to have the person listed. I'm not sure why you wouldn't want that, but you can go ahead and put whatever you like. And then you can actually drag and drop these different images around. Maybe we want to move this up to the top. And now we've got a really handy little slide here, kind of. So more of a record like you would see in something like a Salesforce, right? So it allows you to then see that information in some new ways. Now, Neil, you bring up a really good point around dependencies. And I'm actually going to just delete this column. And we're going to do it from scratch, just so I can show you how we would think about doing dependencies here. Because maybe we have these different tasks that rely on each other. So I'm going to actually go and I'm going to right click. I'm going to insert a column before. And we're going to call this the dependency column. Now what we'll do is we're going to use a special column type that's called a lookup column. So I'm going to click right on up here, choose our column type. I'm going to choose to make it a lookup. And now I can choose from any of the tables in my doc to pull it in. But instead of choosing something separate, I'm actually going to choose this table itself. So I'm going to like look to this table. And now from this drop-down menu, I see all of the tasks that are listed. So I could say exactly what those dependencies are. And then we can use that in multiple different ways. So we've got this little task table, but now we can actually start to work with it because, maybe I want to scroll through that whole table, but probably not. That takes a little bit too much time. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to go here to our task views. And what I did is I just created a new page, and then I clicked on the little dot, 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 and I chose to add a subpage right here. And that's how I added all of these other things. So with Coda, instead of having a bunch of different separate tables, right, we actually can make views of a table. So we only have to enter information once, and then it's updated everywhere else. So how I did that is I decided, let's actually make a new subpage. We're going to call this urgent tasks. And I'm going to give it a cool icon. I like that one. And I just typed / and table. And instead of making a new table, I'm just going to choose tasks from right here. Now I can call this the urgent tasks table. Oh, goodness. And I'm going to choose to filter this view so I only see tasks that are urgent. So I'm going to go, great, I'm going to filter. I'm going to choose urgent, and if urgent is checked, I want to see it here. So notice we only see the tasks that have that urgent checkbox selected. Now, what I could do is I could say, oh, the marketing plan and test iterate, actually not urgent anymore. I'm going to go ahead and uncheck that box, and it gets filtered out of this view. But if I were to head back to that tasks table and say, no, it's actually urgent, as is this one, and I hop back over to our urgent tasks, I now see all of them right here. So the idea is that you've got these different views that allow you to see things in different ways while still having the same underlying data be the same. So just a reminder here, y'all, if you have any questions, you don't have to wait for me to stop talking. If you've got something on your mind, please do let me know by posting to ask a question. I'm watching that very closely. So if you got something on your mind, I'm here for you. So what I did with this particular template is I decided to do that same, do the table and then see it in a new way, just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different times. So let's take a look at how I did this. Here is a different view of the table, but you'll notice it doesn't look like a table anymore. It looks like a Kanban board. It looks like Trello. So what I did here is I chose to see the exact same information, but then I went up here and I chose to see it in a card view. So now if I switch back to table, notice it's all kind of that same table. But then when I choose cards, it goes ahead and it makes that here. And if you are a big Kanban person, you really like that approach, you can actually just choose this board option and it automatically makes that for you. So here I decided for this group, having that Kanban makes sense. And if I drag and drop these things around, the cool thing is that it automatically updates back at our home base and everywhere else. So we can be working here or in any other place, and it automatically is updated up to the second with what we're doing. Okay, so now let's take a look at another view. Here I did by category. So in this case, we have business, home, and interview season tasks, right? So what I did is I just decided to group this column. So let's actually ungroup it. I right click, I choose ungroup, and now I've got it just there, just like we saw before, right? And to make it group, I just choose to click the column. I go down to group it along the left, but I could do along the top if I'm feeling a little fun. And we now have that nice and organized. Maybe I want to add another group by status. No problem. I can just choose, go to group along the left. I now have a little bit of a nested approach and I can just resize however I like, or I can even group those along the top. So it allowed me to see this again, kind of organizing it. What are my questions I have for my data? Then by person, what we did here is we just decided to group it by the assignee column. And then we grouped along the top for the status. And if we wanted to, we could even change how we see this, right? Maybe I want to see this in cards. So I can see it by person and by where it is. Or maybe I want to see it in detail. Yeah. Next, let's take a look at another option. We've got my tasks. Now here what I did is I did something kind of fun. What I did is I said slash table, and I'm choosing a view of the task table. And when I go to filter and I choose the person, so who runs it, instead of choosing somebody from this list, I just chose current user. And this means that whoever is looking at this table, they're just going to see their stuff. So if you all were to log into this doc, you would just see your tasks. So this is a really dynamic way where we can have like this one place. People are always like, oh, what do I got to look at? Where do I got to go? They just need to come to this one particular page and they automatically get just their stuff. So you don't have to make a page for everyone. It's actually all set up here for that person automatically. The other thing I love is that we actually made a roadmap. So we took that same task table and instead of viewing it as a table, we decided to view it as a timeline view. And we did that just by going to options and going to more, chart. And in our chart display, we decided to make it a timeline view. Now, remember, we added that dependency column. And notice here, we can actually choose to have a dependency. So I'm just going to choose the column we made. And now, let's actually make it just fit. Notice it actually maps where those dependencies go. Now, because I didn't think this through, none of the dependencies work, right? Because we see that they're red, yeah? But if I were to move this over here and move this here, notice the line is now gray, which lets me know, hey, you're safe, this all can work. And that, again, when I move these dates, it's going to update them back on that home table as well, because any changes we make in any of those locations automatically play out everywhere else. And we can then, again, move these things around and notice it all shifts for us here. So really, this is the core of that project management in Coda, is having that giant task table and then creating these different views to answer different questions you might have. So if you think about your projects, what are some of the questions that you need to answer? Things that you need to know when you're working with them? Go ahead, post a chat for me. When you're working with your projects, what are some of the things that you need to know? Questions you need to answer to yourself or either other people? I like this, Karina, figuring out what to do next. Yeah, so we could really think about, yeah, of course, if you juggle all sorts of different clients, right? So if you're trying to figure out what to do next, we could do something kind of fun. So what we could do, let's actually just do a little sub page here, and we'll call this like my dashboard. What we could do is we could do slash table. We're going to add a view of tasks right here, and we can call this let's see, next 2 weeks. Yeah. We then add a filter, and we could do a filter where the start date, and we could say is equal to, and we could choose like the next 30 days, right? In this case, they're all happening in the past, so that's not necessarily working. But let's actually go back to our task table. We'll adjust some of these dates here to be in 2021. All right, we are in August. Who would have thought? So I'm just going to change these. So now, if we head back to my dashboard, there we go. All those ones we just adjusted. So these are all happening in the next 2 weeks. And maybe, Karina, what you want to do is you want to think about, all right, I want to identify what should happen next. So what we could do is we could actually go over here. We could have a little checkbox. We could call this next. And as you're triaging, like, okay, for my next, instead of the next 2 weeks, we'll just call this the next 30 days, right? So a rolling 30. You could say, you know what, this one, yeah, this one I'm going to say next, and this one I'm going to be next. And then on our My Tasks page, right? The My Tasks, we can make another view. Table, say a view of tasks. We'll call this next. And we would just filter where, what did we call it? Next is checked. And we could actually call this like if you have a spare minute, right? And then this could be like, oh yeah, these are all the things that I had on my like next to-do list. Now maybe this has too much stuff in it, right? What you could do is say, I'm going to go to my columns and I'm just going to hide all this other stuff. You know, I just want to see these things, right? Just the notes and all that. You can just decide to hide them from your view and be able to work through there. So the idea is to figure out, how do I classify that, and then making a view to support it. Ooh, I like this. Planning to have a card view filtered by today. Yeah. Again, really, when it comes to productivity or project management, there's honestly no right way to do it, right? The right way to do it is the one that works for your brain. So that might be something you could think about there. Cool. Anybody else have questions or things they really like? Ooh, I see we have a question that got posted to chat. I'm going to go ahead and take a look. So we have a question, which is, I tried to set up a daily schedule for room booking in Timeline or Calendar, but was not able to make it work per day or hour. What is the shortest period in Timeline or Calendar view? Great question. So in Timeline, the shortest is going to be, I believe, like days. So let's actually take a look. We're going to go to our options. We're going to go to our Timeline display. And fit means it's just going to fit on the width of the page, but you could do full, which just gives you a infinite scroll from where you're going. And then here you choose kind of what is the start and what is the end. And then the time access can be day. That's the shortest it'll go. For calendar view, though, let's actually create another little subpage here. I'm going to do slash table. We're going to choose a view of tasks, and I'm going to make it a calendar view. When we go to our calendar display, we can say, show me a day. And then you can decide what the working hours are. And then you should be able to have that be start and end with the time. So hopefully that helps, Jill. Let me know if that works for you. And if we come in here and look at all the different options, right? We've got standard table, cards, we've got the detail view, which kind of is great for anytime you have a roster, right? Calendar, if it's dealing with time. Then we have a form, which is allowing people to fill it out and it gets automatically added to a table. Timeline is going to be for those of you who really enjoy Gantt. We have charts, which show you all kinds of different chart options, right? So anytime you need to visualize your data. The other view options we have is a word cloud. So what do we see most frequently? And then board, which automatically creates that kind of Trello Kanban type of approach. Yeah. But anytime you're working with a view and it's not looking the way you think it is, I highly recommend to click on the options. And then every view type will have this little display option where you can choose kind of to customize that there. Yeah, great question. Love it. So let's explore some of the other parts of this project management template doc. We really explored the core of it, which is that all tasks table and then all the different views of that table. But there's a couple other things going on here. The first part is here under setup. Now, remember when we were looking at that big task table, we saw the drop-down menu where you could choose the type of category and then also the status. This is where we're pulling those from. So it allows us to say, hey, I want to pull from that, so that if we have a new type of category, which is dining explorations, everybody who knows me knows I love to talk about food, right? Now, if I were to head back to that handy little tasks table, because we made that connection, this is a lookup column, I now see dining explorations as part of my options. So that tells us that any changes we make here in our setup automatically are available to us elsewhere. So if you have a different status, as far as denied, I'm thinking about your room reservation idea, right? We could say this is blue. Then same thing. If we come back over here, we go to our drop down, perfect, denied is one of the options. So these different classifications allow you to determine kind of your labels. Because if you were to imagine, if you were to pull up a standard project management app, the app designer already labeled everything, right? Oh, for tasks, it can be this drop down, and this is how we think about overdue. All of that is built by the app designer. But in Coda, you actually get to do that yourself by using these different lookup columns and by naming your tables and things appropriately. So it's really like your way of working through it. And in this handy little template over here, all of that setup is in this process for you. So you can go ahead and make it however you like. All right. The next thing that we have in our project management Coda doc here is something we actually do for every single project that we have at Coda, which is a summary. Because here at Coda, we've got people who are working all over the country and a couple folks in Europe right now, which means that we can't always all be in the same room at the same time. So what we do is we actually document every decision and all the details about a project because we want it to be really clear. What is the problem we're trying to solve? What are the jobs to be done? How are we going to measure success? And so we actually just have all of this as just a basic text field, right? So I could just type another heading here, right? Another heading, and I'm going to go ahead and select it. We're going to make it a H1 or maybe an H2 feels a little bit better. And then here are some details. So you can just start typing here. And if you want to take this particular approach for every project that you work on, you can always just type slash and choose project brief. So for all of the templates that we have in Coda, we actually have them available here under that slash menu. So you can just type slash, choose what you're looking for, go ahead and give it a click, and it's going to pull it all in there for you. And notice over here on the side, we have a handy little outline, right? Maybe I want to jump right to measurement, or jump right to non-goals, or jump right to the brain trust, or jump right to time and budget. Yeah. So this little outline is something that I just turned on by scrolling up to the top, by going to our page options. And over here, I toggled on outline, but I could toggle that off just as easily. We can toggle on the author, right? Toggle on a cover photo if we want to feel really fun. So it allows you to, again, for those really primary text-based things, to be able to have that ability to scroll through, jump right to what you're looking for. So we have one part of this doc that is very much about tables, structure, and this, it's a little bit more freeform. So the next part of this doc that we have is the stand-up, because if we think about meeting with each other, right, we're going to need to figure out, hey, how are we doing? What are you working on? And so this little stand-up allows you to have for every person on your team, they can come in here, they can add an update for today, how they feel. The update is, I am teaching right now, and I am glad everyone is here, or here, probably like that. And this update is old, so I'm going to just choose to archive it. Notice it gets filtered out. So we're using the exact same technology that we had with our task table and the views, right? Because I have a filter here. So if I click on this little filter, notice I'm saying if archive is unchecked, I want to see it here. But if I would say archive check, show me all the archives, right? So it's the same thing that we saw with all of these different tasks views right down here. Yeah. Now, the next thing that we have here is this little button, right? The button allows me to add a particular row to this table. So let's go and do some investigation here. I'm going to right click on this button, and this opens up the button's menu so I can go ahead and customize it however I see fit. So here I said I want the button to say add today's update, which is why we see that here. The action this button is taking is adding a row to the status updates table. But notice if I open up this button, I can see, oh, we could have it modify the row. We could have it delete a row, duplicate a page, copy a doc, push more buttons, refresh the page, or set a value. So it allows me to have a bit of an app interaction here instead of having to do it manually. Now, then when we click on that, boom, I can add as many of these as I like. And I can choose archive all, which just removes all of those rows by clicking that archive checkbox for me. So let's go ahead and right click on this and see what we've done. Again, archive all, that's why it says this. I've chosen to modify the rows in that status update table. I want to apply it to every row, and I want to update the archive column to be true, which just says, hey, we're checking all of those checkboxes. And then I made it red because it felt really good. And notice I could add as many of these different icons as I like. I could like, ooh, this one seems fun, or maybe I want to do this one or this one here. So these buttons allow you to add a little bit more interaction. And how you add a button is just like anything else in Coda. You type slash, choose button, and you can go ahead and, hey, I want a new button right here and be able to open it up and make any changes you like. So this is something that if you've got a daily stand-up or a weekly stand-up where you want to check in with folks, it allows everybody to come in, add their update. You can very quickly see how things are going. Now, the last part of this template that we have is a meeting notes area. So the meeting notes has a couple things that we've already seen. The first thing we've seen is text, just listed right here. And if we want to, we can go up to the page options. We can toggle on that outline, right? Which automatically shows me all of the things that are going on. Now, we also have a table. This is an action item table. And we have a button that just adds rows to that table, right? Which is order pizzas for everyone. Then we have this little done checkbox, and notice it filters out. So we're seeing a lot of the same patterns here over and over again. You can remix them in a bunch of different ways. And then you can go ahead and scroll it down, be able to see all of the information here, and you can jump to any of your particular days, however you like, right? Pro tricks, just like so. And one thing I like to do when I have my meeting notes is I like to just copy, and then I like to paste it. And then I can just rename it to be, let's see, today is August 16th, I think, 2021. And you've got a little bit of a template there. So now with this particular setup, we've got all of the tasks organized. We've got all of the meeting notes organized. We have a way for us to touch base with each other, and we have a full summary of how we're doing. So we've got the planning, the sort of lead in, and also the closeout. Now, I know one of you mentioned that you use Jira for your project management. And if any of you have a big engineering organization, no doubt you're going to have Jira or GitHub somewhere involved in your stack. The good news is, right, we can come in here, and we'll call this Jira view, is you can actually have Jira and GitHub come into Coda and be able to take action outside of Coda as well. So I'm going to go ahead and say Jira. Maybe I want to pull in a template of our Jira issues and goals, or maybe just a table from what we've got in Jira. I can pull in all my issues or my projects, and then we can choose what to sync by connecting our account and pull it all in. I'm just going to show you a template though, just so you can see it in action here. So we'll say our Jira issues status chart. So now what we could do is we could have all of our Jira issue status in a table and then all of our current issues. And we could even filter this, right? Maybe I only want to add the criteria where the assignee is a certain thing or the label is something in particular. So you can have all the Jira here as well. So I highly recommend having those different connection points. All right, so that concludes the first part of the session where I show you kind of a quick overview of how to think about project management in Coda. But the rest of the time is yours. So if you need to see something again, or if you're curious about how to take something that's part of your current way of managing projects and apply it to Coda, let me know. The time is yours. I am here to support you. Go ahead, post it to the Ask a Question area or in chat. Either one works for me. Otherwise, if you've got what you need to start exploring yourself, I wish you all the best. Definitely grab a copy of that template over there. And if you haven't already, I highly recommend you head to community.coda.io. It's a great place for all of our forums. We can ask tons of questions, and all of us Coden folks are there lurking around all the time if you ever need support too. So let me know what I can do to help you out. Otherwise, I wish you a wonderful rest of the week. Have fun exploring project management, and I'm here for anything Coda related. You just let me know. What do you need? Any questions, concerns, points of confusion? Happy to show anything again, dig deeper, explore. What do you need? You got it, Karina. Have fun. Yes. Karina is one of our doctorate candidate folks. We have a wonderful program we just started this summer called the Doctorate, which allows people to really up-level their skills, take it to the next level, focus on building. We'll have another cohort in January. Thanks, Karina. I appreciate that. Yes, we've had a lot of fun putting it together. Take care, Karina. I'll see you around. Any other questions? Again, anything Coda related is fair game. It doesn't have to be just project management. It can be anything. All right. Excellent. Last call for any questions, thoughts, concerns, emotional outbursts, random acts of code. All right. Cool. Well, it looks like questions have come to an end, so I'll go ahead close us out for today. Thank you so much for joining us, everybody. Take care. We'll see you around, and do not hesitate to get in touch if you ever need any support. You have an entire company that is ready and waiting to support you. All right, y'all. Take care. I'll see you around.